Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catrone, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note. That's messed up. So, anywho,
lead us off into some fun banter, not some.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna get political talking about dogs.
I know. Here we go.
All right.
Here we are.
Here we
are.
Here
Shelby.
we are. Once again.
And once again. It's crazy people coming back to listen to us with the nonsense.
It's not crazy. We're delightful.
We're so delightful. We're delightful and delectable. That would make us delicious.
That's weird.
Vocal Lab Collective is delicious, this podcast. You can't get enough of the taste.
You know that it's very Gen Z of you to say something like that. My daughter told me recently when she saw my outfit one day, and she's like, "Mom, that is not eating." And I was like, "Pardon? What are you saying?" She's like, "It's not eating." I'm like, "Is this bad? I don't know what that means." And that made me feel very old, but she was so like eating is good, not eating is bad. So if your outfit is totally eating or eating it or something, that means like it's like cool.
That's good. Yeah, you're eating.
And I thought I looked really cute, but my preteen threw some shade. And I also, at the same time, learned a little Gen Z slang.
Sure did.
So,
One time,
she's like I think she's Gen Alpha. I don't know.
Is that
Maybe
the new
she's
one?
Gen Z. Yes, that is the new one.
Wow.
I know my boys, my younger two are Gen Alpha. I forget which one she is.
That's crazy. Can't wait to hear what kind of issues they got.
I'm still resentful that I've been called a millennial because I still I identify as Gen X.
Yeah. Right on that cross.
Older,
right on that cross.
I'm on the cusp.
Speaking of crosses, I was performing at the Crystal Cathedral one time in Orange County. And
Just throwing that in there.
we were down. So when this was in its heyday, right? That's this big glass church in Orange County that was on TV every Sunday, and they would always have like special guest singers in, actors. Dr. Schuler, the guy who started it, he was very connected with people with power, like politicians, authors. I mean, across every spectrum, especially Hollywood, because they're right there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was basically a church that did a TV show, and everything was built around the TV show. And it was crazy because this place was just this big glass palace, and it's still there. Now it's part of the Catholic diocese. But it was amazing to sing there because, they have full orchestra, plus you're in this amazing thing. At one point in the service, the organ's cranking, the choir's singing, the orchestra's strumming, and everyone's singing, and this big spire that was kind of the focal point of the church, the glass doors would open as the song's nearing the end and everything's cranking. I mean, we're talking like it had to be at least 200 feet high. Just these glass doors open up to the outside, and this massive fountain shoots up like 300 feet in the air, and then these fountains in the middle of the church that go down the middle aisleway shoot up as well.
This is inside?
Oh yeah, you literally thought Jesus was there.
Oh my gosh.
Every time.
That's wild.
It was crazy cool.
Look that up on YouTube.
Yeah, you can see it. Anyway, I sang there a lot, and it was fun. They'd fly you in. They had this limo that would pick you up and put you in a hotel. They'd come get you in the morning. You'd do rehearsal. You'd go under the church where they had all these green rooms and dressing rooms. And it was like the holding room until someone came and got you. It was very, very structured, and it was a TV show. So anyway, why am I telling this story? Oh yeah, this is why. So before the service would start, Dr. Schuler would come out. The Schulers, there were several of them, would come out, say hello to everyone. You would pray, and then they would go up and start the service. And you would wait. You go back to your dressing room, wait. But so we're there, and one of my friends who was a backup singer, she was super funny. Her name was Leanne, and she sang with Cece primarily all the time.
Cece's about to be my neighbor.
Cece Winans is your neighbor?
About to be. She's building like a compound, and like I could walk to it from my house.
Oh my gosh.
Me and my neighbor friends were all like,
please let's be best friends with Cece Winans.
Oh, she's going to be on the podcast. Cece.
Oh my gosh. Cece Winans, one of my favorite of all time.
I know.
Anyway,
sorry to interrupt.
No, that was interrupting
She's
worthy.
about to be my neighbor.
That was definitely worth that. That's crazy.
I know.
So anyway, get ready to start. Dr. Schuler's like, let us bow our heads and pray. He had a big stately voice like that. And so we all bow, and he's like, Lord, mix it up and make it delicious. Amen. And that was it. And we they go upstairs, and my friend Leanne goes, that's it? That's all he got to say, and he got all this? She's like, I'm praying too hard. I will never forget that.
That's
Mix
amazing.
it up and make it delicious.
That was the whole prayer?
That was the prayer.
Start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't got to pray for too much.
Well, we're going to mix it up and make it delicious today.
Hey, we got a real hot treat today.
Yeah, we do.
Her name is Dani. And I know Dani. How long have we known each other for a while? Dani Rose, please welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. We're mixing it up and making it delicious,
Absolutely,
y'all. Yeah.
right? A little spiciness with you today.
I'm so
I've
spicy.
always think you're spicy.
Really?
Yeah, like in the sense of like you're fun, you're playful, you're energetic, you're out doing the most cool things all the time. And
Well, thanks.
yeah,
I'm a Gemini with a Leo rising.
there we go. Okay.
You know, it's
There
like
we
a
are.
really fun.
But more than that, you are, well, not more than that. That's a big part of that is who you are. So to that, you're also an amazing artist, and it comes through just in your creativity, and your social media like always just like pulls me in. And so
Thank you.
welcome today.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Dani's in the country space, and kind of tell us like how'd you get there? Like what pulled you into country? Have you sang your whole life? Like where did all this stuff start coming from?
Right out of the womb, I was a big, we're gonna say, screamer.
Hey,
And,
we like your types.
And I remember.
But don't we all kind of do that?
Yeah,
Technically.
Yeah, we technically do.
Well, I don't know. Of my 3 kids, I know which one was crying the loudest after they came out.
Oh, I guess
and which one
that's
was
true.
Kind of the most docile.
I mean, I've never been in this situation, but I guess sometimes kids are just going.
Actually, my quietest kid is my big singer.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway.
I was not that way. I was the loudest. Yeah, and the quietest. That's my sister. She can sing.
Okay.
She doesn't want to though. She doesn't really want to be in the spotlight. It's very different for me.
Yeah. Right.
But
Did anyone else in your family sing or have like a creative angle to them?
my
or?
dad, he's a chemical patent attorney. However, he loves music. He plays piano and guitar. So I grew up in a musical family. My
cool.
mother's a artist, oil painter. So it's like very creative family.
So you mixed it up and made it delicious in a lot of different
We
ways.
made it real delicious,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah. See? That's
Where are
cool.
you from originally?
I'm from Virginia.
Okay.
Originally, I was born in Manassas, Virginia, the Battle of Bull Run, if you know your
Manassas,
Civil
yeah.
War history.
Oh, wow.
They call people from Manassas Manassholes. So I suppose
love that.
I'm one of those.
Do you have like a minor league sports team? Because that should be there.
That's very like a hockey name right there.
Yeah, they should be the,
The
Manassas
Manassas
Manassholes. Let's just buy a hockey team and move it there.
I think so. I think if we made that, I think a lot of people would buy the merch.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
maybe this is a great
Absolutely.
idea.
No, totally. It's like, what if the Macon Manassas played the Macon Whoopee? That would be a fun game.
Yep. Yep.
It's just our name is
Yeah.
a lot more spicy.
Well,
Yeah.
Do you know what one of my
making
favorites?
whoopie's kind of spicy.
On a tangent.
It's about
spicy.
making
Yeah, right?
whoopee.
It's about making
whoopee,
whoopee.
but like also, I guess I didn't understand when you first said
Yeah.
the whoopies, and I was like, oh, what's the
The
whoopies?
Macon Whoopee.
The Macon whoopies.
Macon
Uh-huh.
whoopies.
Macon,
Macon,
Georgia.
Oh, I get
That's
it.
the
Yeah,
minor
Macon,
league
Georgia.
whoopies.
Macon
That
league
makes
hockey
sense.
team.
No, are they,
Versus
I
the
think they're baseball.
Manassholes. That would be a great game.
Baseball.
Right?
I'd watch that.
Which ones?
The Macon Whoopee. I think it's baseball. Carlos will know this. What's the
Nice hockey team.
so it is hockey, you're right.
I was right.
What is Regina's team called? Hockey team.
Who?
Regina?
Who that?
Okay, I gotta tell this story too while we're on it.
Oh my word.
The Pats?
No, well, what are the Regina Rough Riders?
Oh.
Which is crazy. So Regina's the capital of Saskatchewan, Canada.
Okay.
Carlos and I toured in a group in Canada a lot, and so we being immature Americans, you can never go to, because you fly in, they're like, it's a hot day in Regina today. It's gonna be 24 degrees Celsius, and we're back here. But Canadians don't think that way, right? There's only one thing that rhymes with Regina.
Correct.
Wasn't that
What's
a
that, Jason?
Wasn't that a Seinfeld episode?
Probably. It sounds like it would have been.
There was.
Well, anyway.
I digress
you
a
made it
lot,
out
Dani.
of
Sorry.
Manassas.
Follow me along.
You made your way to Nashville. And how long have you been here?
Funny enough, I've been coming here back and forth for about 10 years. But I finally made the move this past May.
Oh, wow.
What? I didn't even know that.
So you've been making big moves in Nashville without living here for a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess. I mean, we can call them big
We
moves.
did a podcast on that, actually, about do you
did.
need to live in Nashville or LA or New York to make it?
I think it depends on what you want to do.
That was our answer.
It
But
really
for you
depends
at
on what you
work
wanna do.
to
Yeah, I had I'm a big networker. I'm also like a super hustler, so I'm always going after things and I'm relentless and I work 24/7. So lots of emails, lots of meetings, but I think in order to actually do it and get the people that you need on board, you do need to live here if you want to be in the country space. You can of course do some of that out west where I was living in California, but you need to get really lucky with specific people and specific
or have a song blow up.
labels. I mean, even if your song blows up, you're still going to want to be here in the area because it's such a great network.
True.
And the best writing for me personally, and that doesn't have to be true for other people per se, but for me, I like to write here. This is where I am meeting the best writers for my specific projects and the people that I want to write with.
Yeah. So you made the move in May, and what kind of sparked that other than what you said? Was there like an event that happened, or you're like, no, this is the time? Like, how did you know when it was time, I guess is the question.
Well, I would say that the biggest reason why I finally made the move was because I just simply was really bored and unhappy in California. And it took a lot in me to pack up and move here. It was a very brave thing for me to do. And it took a lot of guts, but it was unfortunately the only option because I would wake up every day in California and say, I don't belong here. This isn't for me. And you can only push that voice away for so long.
You're right.
And I pushed it away for, I would say, years. And then one day it just wouldn't shut up. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. And it said, you need to go.
What had drawn you to California?
I'm glad you asked that. So I was living in Virginia, and I was doing music. I'll back up to, I went to Virginia Tech for college, graduated, but I'll back up even further. Prior to that, I was doing, I was in 5th grade, and we were in Virginia, and we'd moved from Manassas to Fairfax County to Chantilly, Virginia. And I was at Lee's Corners Elementary School. I was in 5th grade, and my dad sat both me and my younger sister down and said, hey, we're going to be moving the family to Tokyo, Japan. So we moved from Northern Virginia to Japan.
Wow.
And I was there from 5th grade until the beginning of 9th. And during that time,
Whoa, so you speak Japanese?
I'm a singer, as you are a singer, and we are good mimics. So
totally.
I can, like, we can sing in any other language.
Yeah.
We can mimic other languages.
Sure.
At the time, obviously, I wasn't studying vocal performance when I was in 5th grade, but I have a good ear. And I was able to like pick up a lot of Japanese. So
that's
I can
cool.
say I can read Japanese and I can sing in Japanese and I can
That's crazy.
speak conversationally-ish, but that's no more than that. But I am good at language. Like it's a fun game for me. It's what my brain is like works like that. Like I love language. So we moved to Japan and I was very much the international kid. We went to an international school. All of the ambassadors' kids went to school with me. So
That's
you
what I
have
always
all these
wanted to be.
different cultures.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
And it was like my Swedish friend, my Australian friend, my German friend,
Yeah.
my friend from Utah, like randomly.
Yeah,
It was the
right.
American school, but we also had Japanese kids that came there too. So it was really a crazy thing. And at a young age, during my very formative years, I was traveling internationally, which was so different from what my friends were experiencing back home in Virginia.
Totally.
When we moved back, I was very much an independent kid, beginning of high school. And I tried to reach back out to all my friends, and you have kids, so you can kind of imagine this. In 5th grade, I was taking the subway by myself.
In Japan.
In Japan. Because my dad was like, I'm sick of taking you to go
That's
hang out with
crazy.
your friends. It's
Were
a
you
safe
nervous
country.
at first?
Oh my God, I was so scared. Of course. Of course I was scared.
That's crazy. So he just put you on the subway and
Yeah.
off you go.
He's like,
Meanwhile,
"Here's-"
your friends back in Manassas are looking at Kalamanassas.
But you said it was like super safe. Like
It was,
very different.
yeah, Japan
Like
is
that, right?
extremely safe. Extremely
like trying
safe.
to do that in DC, for instance.
You wouldn't do
Never
that
do
too.
that.
You wouldn't
They
do
didn't
that for a
get
fifth
that.
grader in Washington D.C. But in
Right.
Tokyo, it's extremely safe, and everybody really watches out for the children. So I was like,
It's like
What is that
Scandinavia.
culture like? Oh my gosh.
It's like Scandinavia. They're
I would guess,
the
yeah.
exact same way.
Yeah.
You'll see a 5-year-old on the train by themselves.
And you're just like,
That's
that is like
wild.
literally like that's what that is. So I came back and I wanted to grab, like we would go out for coffee in 8th grade and 7th grade. We'd go out for dinner. Maybe we'd take a weekend trip to Tokyo Disneyland. We'd stay over. Like we just had that ability to, I mean, granted, we were lucky enough with my dad's company that they subsidized
All of it,
everything.
yeah, totally.
We then moved back to Virginia and we were very poor again. But during the time of Tokyo years, I was a
You're-
bougie child.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is awesome. That was not the case when we moved back. And I went to public school again, and I was dropped in to public high school in
Gosh, that had to
Chantilly,
be,
Virginia, and like calling up
rough.
some friends, like, hey, we went to 4th grade together. Do y'all want to grab like a coffee? Maybe we can catch up. And they thought I was insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Insane. They were like, what? We don't go get coffee. We're
Yeah.
in 9th grade. I was like, well, what do you do here?
Do you eat
And it was like,
sushi?
oh, you go to the mall. Like, I was like,
Chantilly is a super affluent city as well.
you think so? I mean, maybe now.
Well,
but
I've read that it's one of the wealthiest counties in America.
in
Really?
Fairfax County.
Yes.
Fairfax County.
Fairfax
for sure.
County is.
Yeah.
Chantilly is like borderline, but
Okay.
it's definitely Fairfax County.
Okay.
But like you still, the kids, they go to the mall. Like
Yeah.
that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like there's no, you can't hop on the subway and like,
Yeah.
you know, go to Tokyo Disneyland together with your
Right.
friends
Right.
and everything's chaperoned. And like, it was very,
Also, the mall's very different.
the mall is very different.
Than
Although in
Japan.
Japan they have like the 109 and 109 too. They've got Shibuya, which is like the one
big
of the
crosswalk.
the big crosswalk, and they've got the like different department stores. But like even that it's so far
You know
different
who's
from
from
the mall.
Shibuya?
Shibuya?
Yay! She got it. How'd you know?
Well,
That was a stupid joke.
yes, it was.
I was literally like, oh really? I should DM him. Everything. If you tell me stuff, like, it's like
Yeah, you're
I will
like,
totally
really?
believe it. Very gullible.
You're already
Very
setting up that
gullible.
writing session, weren't you?
Yeah, right. I was like, oh, this is great. We can chat about
Here's
Japan.
an in.
Anyway, you were asking me like about music, how it all started. So I'm this international kid, and now I have to go back to Chantilly, Virginia, go to Chantilly High School, and assimilate back into American culture.
Yeah.
Literally dumb myself down.
Yeah.
I had to pretend like I was stupid in
Wow.
order
Isn't that
to.
crazy?
Because like I remember like my math teacher was making jokes in the math class, and like again, I was not like this. Unfortunately for my father, I was not the genius math brain child that
he is.
was expecting to have as like
It's like, one of my offspring shall be just like me.
like the offspring that he got was like my sister's a graphic designer and like I'm in music, and he was like, are you kidding me? Like what did I do to deserve? And they're both girls, like no boys. So I was like the boy of the family, but like I was so horrible at math that he was like, I cannot believe that you are my child.
Yeah.
Like why are you like he was the kind of guy that like he put me in the SAT math class, and he's like, all right, you are because your score is so horrible that you need to like my literature, my English score was like off the charts. It was great, but my math was so bad that it gave me like a passable SAT score. And he's like, all right, we're going to SAT prep class. And I did it, and then it only like went up a couple points, and he's like, that's it, I am doing it with you. And he literally rewired my brain. I mean, I don't remember anymore, but at the time, he rewired my brain on how to think of problems mathematically.
Interesting.
Like, I was like, he's like, how are you going to do this problem? I said, well, I'm going to do this here and this here and this here. He goes, okay, that's 3 steps. That's costing you 5 minutes. I'm going to teach you something that you can do in 1 minute. He's a genius.
That's
And I just
crazy.
I don't think like that, unfortunately. So what I'm getting at is I'm probably a complete failure.
But isn't your comeback always, but dad, music is math? You can't argue with that.
Sure, Jason. I would love for you to
try it
that.
next time you're home with him. Just see how it goes over.
I'm going to bring you home,
Okay.
and we're going to try that and see how it goes for you.
Okay.
We're just going to go.
Perfect.
We're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, being back in Virginia, I was like, all right, I'm here in Virginia. I've got to be like in American high school again. How do I assimilate? Oh, I'm going to have to make myself stupid. So, which is such a terrible thing to say, but like, that's just how I felt. That was a pure emotion. I went to Virginia Tech, and because it was a state school, and again, we were poor again, and my dad's like, I can help you, but it's gonna have to be a state school. Like, this must be, like, you cannot go to Maryland or wherever, or Florida or wherever you want to go. So I went to Virginia Tech, and my last year of college, I joined a sorority. I was like in like all the things. I was singing at the basketball games. I made an a cappella group because I wasn't accepted at any of the a cappella group auditions for the first year. They were like, no, we don't want you. So I was like, F it, I'll make my own.
Yeah.
And that group still exists today at Virginia Tech.
Really? That's fun.
I studied music and English. My father wanted me to get both degrees, so I doubled up the course load. I also took an extra year to make it work with the credits. And my last year of college, I went overseas to Italy, where I didn't speak the language, but because I was studying vocal performance, I knew how to pronounce things in Italian, as you know, Jason, like art songs. And so I was able to go to Italy, and I found an internship that would kind of subsidize the overseas tuition and everything there, and it was at a TV station. And I weaseled my way on camera, told them I don't have to speak Italian in order to speak it on camera, and it was like Italian and English, so you do one segment in Italian and then you do it again in English. I was like, just give me the script, I'll memorize it, I'll be fine. And so I did that. So I was reporting on air in Italian and English.
Crazy.
I missed music though. I was like, something is hurting inside of me and I don't know what it is. And I realized it was music. I went to a jazz club one night and they did blues and rock and country and like these Italians. And I went and I asked, scusami, posso cantare stasera? Excuse me, may I sing tonight? And they said, oh, chiaro, sure. Like, why not? Like, why don't you hop on stage? And so I just came up with a melody. It was like a jam thing. And I was like, all right, we're just going to sing. And then I got familiar with the guys there. And then I started singing with this like rock blues band at night. And then during the day I was reporting in Italian. So
That's
I had
so
a
cool.
really lovely life in Florence. And then I had to
Why
come
did you
back.
ever leave it?
I had to come back and graduate.
Okay, fair.
I came back very depressed.
I'm
Graduated from Virginia Tech.
That sounds like a movie.
And I went right into, I found an opportunity with a PBS station to host a TV show on PBS.
Okay.
So I hosted that for 3 years. It was a music video, it was like a MTV DJ kind of, or VJ kind of vibe, but PBS, so like way dumbed down.
Yeah.
And I used to interview like musical artists that came through and chat with them. Sarah McLachlan was one of them.
Nice.
What?
And I produced, I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but looking back, I was like, oh, I produced this segment because I reached out to Network and I was like, hey, can we get Terry McBride and Sarah McLachlan in to do this special segment? She was doing a festival at the time. It came through Virginia. And I was like, let's do this segment. And so we started chatting, and afterwards we were talking, and I was like, I love music so much, even though I do TV, like I really want to sing. This is my passion.
You're telling this to Sarah McLachlan?
Yes. And she's like, well, why don't you just sing? Like, what's stopping you? And I was like, well, I don't know how to do it. She's like, you'll figure it out.
So you're telling me you started singing because Sarah McLachlan told you to? That's a cool story. You just go with it. Just go with it. I gave that to you.
I'm going with it. She's like, just do it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll figure it out.
Sometimes we just need permission from some random other person outside source,
There
I call
we go.
those first class conversations. More to come about that later.
Yes, for sure.
First class conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pivotal moments in life that catapult us into the life we've always dreamed of. And they oftentimes seem really random or happenstance.
Yeah.
But they're really providential. And like, as you're just sitting here saying, like, you're like, I was kind of producing a show, even though that's not really what I set out to do, but somehow ended up in this position. And randomly now you're with Sarah McLachlan, who's telling you to do this thing you're dreaming. These are not random events at all.
It felt very
Of course it
interesting.
did,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and they seem very random, but they're so substantial in the course, especially I think of an artist's life, because we all need something to push us into the great adventure of the unknown and the scary.
Yeah.
So
Right?
your pivotal moments I also call like divine intervention.
100%.
Where like you just
Yes.
don't have, like, it just happens no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't explain why that happens. So from there, I was working at the TV station and I got again, divine intervention, random to me, call. And I didn't even know what this was, but they said, "Hi, I got your number from so-and-so. I heard that you're singing." I had made a record at this point. I didn't know what I was doing. It's so bad. Listen to, like, some of the melodies are like, oh, that's cool. But like, I was like, oh,
Was it country?
It was pop country.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't know what I was singing.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. But I was like, all right, I made a record and I was like kind of playing out as much as I could. Sure. Like just, again, there's no textbook for how you're supposed to do this. And I got a call from this woman and she said, "Hi, I'm from Amateur Night at the Apollo." I was like, "Oh, okay, what is that?" She's like, "You don't know what that is?"
What
And I was
is
like,
that?
"I have no idea." She's like, "Well, I would like you to come and sing at the Apollo Theater in New York. Come up with 3 song options and we're going to put you on stage.
How did
and
she
we're
find
gonna
you?
see from like some bass player that like knew of me and played with me in something that I was playing with in Virginia and DC.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but somebody liked my voice.
Yeah.
So it was kind of through that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll come and do it. So I went to New York City. And
You still had no idea what the Apollo was. at this
I
point?
kind of had an idea. Like I looked on YouTube and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, so this is a very scary thing, but like I'm down. Let me do it. It was a competition show.
Yeah.
And they asked me for my song choices, and I was like, well, you know what? I really think I should do. I was like, I'm very like politically correct and like want to like bring like all the things together, and I was like, I think I should do "Come Together." You know, come together.
Beatles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beatles, right now. And I was like, I think that would be a great song choice for me. And they're like, that's really nice, but you're going to be doing Aretha Franklin, Chain of Fools. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, you understand that I am a little Jewish girl from Virginia, and I'm going to get on stage and sing Chain of Fools? Like, are you trying to set me up for failure?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
have watched the videos, and they boo.
Oh,
no
they boo, and
matter
that
what.
the clown comes out with the cane
With the
and
cane,
pulls you
right?
off
And they just
around
say,
the neck.
"Rah."
Is that
And
right?
so they were like, no, we've heard your voice. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for that very wonderful pivotal
That's
memory
it,
in
right?
my brain.
Oh,
Yes.
that was a trigger.
So I get there, and my hair is like very curly. I have really curly hair, but like you might tell from all the body of my hair right now. But I just got these fun bangs, which like I'm still
They're fun.
like, they're just like very like floofy. I feel very Sabrina Carpenter.
Wear it before that.
yeah.
Wear it before that humidity hits. Right?
Yeah, right. And then, but I have really curly hair, and so my hair is just like this fro kind of vibe. And I get to New York, and my friend like was living there at the time, so he came to meet me. But I was like by myself. I got on like a Greyhound bus and like went. Like nobody came
Yeah.
with me. I was staying with one of my friends, and they put me
funny.
in the back, and I go on stage. I do a quick rehearsal with the band, and they're like, "All right, like you sound good. Like this is great." And I was like, "Okay, can we do it again?" And they're like, "Well, we usually don't do second rehearsals." I was like, "No, I'm really nervous. Like I don't know, what this is. I wasn't taking a shot of whiskey. I was like a baby, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get on stage." And I got on stage and I started singing, and the immediate response was boo.
No.
Boo, boo. And in that moment, something took over, and I was like, I'm going to make every one of you MFs stand up and applaud me, and I'm going to get a standing ovation. And I looked at all of the ones, the biggest booers, and I just had the biggest smile on my face. And I was singing. I have a very loud voice, and as I'm like literally screaming, "Chain, chain, chain," and like getting really into it, people start clapping, and they start getting
Love
up
it.
on their feet, and I'm just like, "Chain, chain, chain," and then I end with this like massive "Fools," and like it's so big, and everyone's like, "Ah!" And like I do it,
That's
and
amazing.
I won.
You won?
Nice.
That's crazy. What did you win?
Wow.
I forget what the prizes were.
You win, like, It was something like, it was like a small cash prize.
Yeah, it's like
and
small
like
cash prize, not a
small
lot.
cash prize, and like you get to come back for the next one. And I went back for the next one, and I only placed third when I like did it again. But
because they do like all stars or something.
Yeah, it goes
eventually.
back. But
Yeah.
it was from that moment that I was
wild.
like, I'm a performer. Like, I am
Wow.
meant to be on stage, and I'm supposed to do this. I went back to the station. My CEO at the time, he was like, you should be doing music. And I was like, well, I can't go to Nashville. I'm this girl from Virginia. I'm singing country, but like I can't call it country because no one's going to believe that I do country. So I'm going to go out to LA where, well, segue, small little tidbit of this. At the time, I was like doing music, and I was releasing like records. Do you remember when they had CDs in Best Buy?
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
So
we are that old.
I literally met this guy who was like doing like CDs. He got them in like distribution deals to Best Buy. And like I went in, like I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, hey, do you think you can get my CD into Best Buy and do East Coast distribution deal? And by the way, I would love to do a release party. What do you all have coming up in the spring? And he's like, well, you are a tenacious young lady. Like, I will have, that sounds great. And so he got an East Coast distribution deal where I was able to sell my records at Best Buy.
Wow.
And then we did this big like release party at Union Square Park in New York. And so everybody came by. Best Buy supported it. They had like these speakers. It was crazy. I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was I wanted to sing, and I was going to do whatever I could to make it happen. So I did that, and I sang, and it was so fun. And at the time, I was also working with Free People, the clothing brand Free People, owned by Anthropologie. And I worked with my sister to come up with a proposal, because the proposal was to do live shows in their major markets and their flagship stores, because I was singing in their stores and doing that in exchange for clothing. Then I was able to get to corporate. I went to the Naval Shipyard, which is where Urban Outfitters is headquartered. Urban Outfitters owns Anthropologie, Free People, and some other brands. Now it's like Beholden as well. And
super cool offices.
Amazing offices.
Yeah,
Have you been there?
In Brooklyn?
No,
in Philly. Yeah, in Philly.
Oh, I was thinking of the shipyards in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Shipyards in Philly.
Got it.
And so I went there, and
I knew that. I knew that Urban was based out of Philly. Okay.
so I
was way
went
back in
there.
your
It
brain.
was so fun, and then ended up proposing a tour where we would do 3 major cities with Free People. And as this was happening, and I was just by myself. I didn't have a manager. I didn't have an agent. Like, I was just, this was just
You clearly
me.
didn't need one at the time.
I didn't need one, but of course people get nervous when you don't have some sort of like something behind you. But it was like, well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Right.
So I had this beautiful proposal. We talked about it. They made me posters. It was gorgeous. I set up the tour. A record label, Blue Note Records, which was part of EMI at the time before the sale to Universal, had gotten word that I was doing this. So I met with the head of that label, Ian Ralphini, and he was playing my music like over the speakers, top of the floor. And he was like, your music's very pop country. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, I think we could do something together, but tell me more about how you're getting into the clothing stores, because I would love to get my other artists in there. And I was like, oh, and he's like, can I have a copy of the proposal? And I was like, well, why do you want a copy of the proposal? He's like, well, do you think that you could get my other artists into the stores that you're playing? And do you think you could do an introduction? And I was like, well, don't you want me to be on your label? And he's like, well, I do, but I want you to move to New York, and then we'll see what we can have happen. And in that moment, I just said, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
And I walked out the door.
Absolutely.
And I chose California because it was warm. They had palm trees.
Yeah.
And I felt safe and comfortable there, even though I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
For some reason, when I visited California,
So you
it
did
Well,
was
New York
great.
kind of rubbed you the wrong
LA.
way after that.
Yeah, New York was like, I'm not coming here.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
guy, he just wants to use me. So he doesn't see me for a talent. He sees me as a vehicle for his other artists because they're too stupid to do anything for themselves.
I think it's interesting to realize that the same city gave you the courage to go for it with the Apollo.
Right.
That's very smart.
But
I
at
never
the same
even thought about it.
time, helped you close the door saying, this isn't where I need to be.
Yeah.
Because of that meeting. That would have been a great story, too, for the podcast that we did about being in a creative center. Do you need to be there or not? And it's like, that's a perfect example of like, it helped you, then it closed the door, and it shifted you to another and then to the other.
Yeah, there's seasons for it.
Yeah.
It showed you who you wanted to be, but not where you needed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really fascinating. And
That's
you got
so
to rub the
crazy.
stump.
Yeah, I rubbed the stump. Rub the little tree of hope, Dani Rose.
I used to watch that show. It's funny. I used to watch that, and I would always stay summers holidays with my great aunt in Louisville, and I would stay up late at night. She always slept on the couch ever since her husband had died. She slept on the couch watching TV every night. Always had the biggest TVs, and so I would sleep in the back bedroom, and I would fall asleep to TV. And late night at the Apollo every Saturday night, I just loved it. It was so fun. That's how I knew the whole stick thing. But it had great singers on there. That's so
great
cool to get to
singers.
do that.
Everyone was so talented.
Yeah, a lot of
So
very famous
talented.
people were on that show before they were famous.
Actually, the Apollo Theater just this past year got the Kennedy Center honors.
Oh, wow.
The first time a non-human has been given the Kennedy Center honors.
Wow.
which was
Interesting.
super
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're part of that heritage. Look at that.
I'm part of that.
Look at that.
So how long were you in California?
Well, I moved there and I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing, but I think I'm just going to do music. And I started, the only way I was making income was on a TV show back home in Virginia, and that was the PBS show. And I was like, oh, well, this is full of actors and whatever, and TV's so easy for me. I can get a job, no problem. I can do hosting. So I did like a couple different hosting things, but like, it is not easy to do hosting in California. Everybody wants to be on camera.
Yeah.
Nobody liked the fact that I actually had experience on camera when
They
I
don't
met like
care.
other entertainment like people. They're like, we don't care. And I was like, but I had a show on TV for 3 years. They're like, we don't care. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so it was very hard to make money. I was like literally down to like my last dollar and like thinking, now I understand how people can be homeless because I literally can't pay my bills. I didn't think it would get to this, but here it is. I'm going to have to go home. I don't even have enough money to buy a plane ticket home. I'm going to have to call my parents and say, hey, I couldn't do it. Because they were really like, we don't know about this. I can't believe you're moving away from home. You know, they're
Yeah.
scared. They were scared for
Sure.
me. But they're like, we don't anticipate you being there for more than 3 months, honestly. And I was like, well, I'll show you. And out of the blue, I got a call I didn't even apply. I was literally applying to any job I possibly could to try and make money and
Yeah.
also do my music at the same time. I got a call from Warner Music Group to work in finance. What on my resume said I would be good at finance?
They knew who your dad was.
They knew my dad was good at numbers, but they
It
didn't
was
look
a
at the
setup.
genetics.
He
My
called him.
dad
That
literally-
SAT prep.
Right,
Yeah.
that SAT prep. Anyway, I went in for an interview where like all these people wanted to get it, and it was supporting the VP of Finance at Warner Music Group underneath the umbrella of all of Warner in corporate. And they're like, why do you want this job? I was like, I did not apply for it. And they're like, okay, do you want to be a CPA? And I was like, what is a CPA? And they're like, do you want to be a public notary? I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know any of this. But they're like, well, how about computer systems? I was like, okay, here's the one thing about me. I'm a musician and I'm an artist, and I need to make some money. So I answered yes when I got the call for this interview, but I never applied. In fact, I don't even know how you got my resume, because the only thing that I have on here was hosting a TV show, and then I do music. But if you need somebody smart that knows computer systems, I can learn anything. That's the one thing. I'm bad at math, but my dad used to make computers for IBM, so I have that brain and I can speak computer language. So I was like, if you need help doing that, I can do that. Numbers wise, don't count on me. I know that this is a finance role, but whatever. But I need money, so if you want to, you can hire me. I'll learn your stuff. If not, no big deal. Out of like 15 people, they chose me.
Wow.
So I ended up working there for 3 years, learned the ins and outs of all the finances on the back end, and was able to kind of see what was going on financially and how much producers and CEOs and people were paying themselves.
Yaha.
And I learned a lot about the record label
getting
business
good.
and industry.
Yeah.
They offered me a position to move over to A&R within Warner, and I was like, no. Why would I do that? I'm an artist. And I made it very clear that I was always doing music. At the time, I ended up getting an offer. This is one of the divine intervention. Like, talk about truth. You guys are getting the full truth right now. This offer from a talent buyer in California. And at the time, I wasn't identifying as country. I was just, I was pop music. I was like pop country maybe. And he called me up and he said, hey, I need somebody to open up a string of shows for the West Coast tour of LeAnn Rimes. And we have singled you out as a female country artist, and we need you to come and open. Can you do a show this Friday at the Fox Theater? That's going to be your first show. And I was like, I am from Virginia, and I am so country. Like, I'm going to do it. And so I ended up taking time off from my job.
Wow.
And I went and I opened up for LeAnn. And that was my introduction into really legitimately being called and named a country artist.
Yeah.
And from that, I released a single. It went to #1 on the Apple Music charts. And I looked at the downloads, and I was beating consistently on quarterly reports the artists on Warner based off of what I was doing, only because I found I'm a networker, I'm a hustler. I met some people from Apple, I met the other people on the DSPs, and I told them about my music. Here's a song that I released, I'm opening up for LeAnn Rimes, and they had the power to place it. And so the labels then within Warner, the presidents came to me, to my desk, where I was a finance assistant. They said, how are you getting on these lists? What are you paying? And I was like, I'm not, I'm just, people like me, and I'm doing it. Then at the time, there was an internal song contest where they promised a record deal, or at least some interest if you won. And I submitted some songs. I competed against other people within the country, within the company. I won. There were two different people that could win. I won and another guy won, and I forget who that guy was, but I should really look him up now to see if he's still doing music.
Totally.
They didn't give me the label. They said, you didn't have any support here. You didn't have any champions at this label. And I was so heartbroken. And I was like, but I'm opening up for one of your artists that's on Curb. Like, I'm showing you that I'm doing this. I'm showing you consistent data, reporting data that I am outselling the downloads on some of your artists. And it wasn't good enough. It was just that I wasn't championed. And it was my first taste of, you have to be in Nashville and part of the community. Because if you're not, no one is going to open their arms and let you in. So I ended up quitting at Warner. They offered me a position to go to A&R, and I said, I'm the artist. I'm not the A&R. I'm the artist. I'm my own A&R. I'm my own manager. I'm my own everything. And
did it feel like almost like you'd be sort of competing against yourself in that position versus finances within Warner is more removed from the artist side, and so it was like an easier place to...
Well, no one would have believed that I was an artist if I took that job.
Yeah.
When you work within a company, no one believes that
especially because the A&R is so visual.
Right, it's so visual.
Finance, you're just in your office.
No, but even finance. If you work within the music industry as an artist, no one takes you seriously. Yeah. But you think about it in a realistic way. If you are working in the music industry because you need to make money, that means you're not actually successful as an artist. And making it on, you're not making the income enough to support yourself in your craft.
It's like you're settling.
You're settling, kind of, but that's very hard for people. Other people have side jobs. It is not easy being an artist. It is not easy sustaining myself. No. But I made the choice when I quit that this is what I'm going to do. This is my career, and I'm going to make it. And it doesn't matter how, but I'm going to figure it out. And that's when I grew a backbone. I started asking for money for myself. It was no more, here, I'll pay you $75 to play at this bar. It was like, no, you're going to pay me $300. And that $300 grew into $500, and that $500 grew into $1,000. And from there, it just continued to go on because I started to realize and recognize my worth.
Absolutely.
And when I had the country single on Apple Music, and I was able to have, I did a cover of Garth Brooks' People Lovin' People. It was huge. It went up to like 1 million streams on Spotify.
Wow.
And I didn't even know what was going on, but people knew me and my name from that cover of a Garth Brooks song that I did on Spotify. So it was working.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it because I didn't have the help. And from there, I spent 10 years in California. I grew a bass. I was in a band. I created a band. It grew. I played Stagecoach. I started getting placements on TV shows. I started the band actually and it wasn't for, I started working with a manager who used to work with Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, and I was a big fan of her. I still am a big fan of her and the band and anything that she does. And so I believed that he was going to be able to help me.
Yeah.
But he was not able to help me. But I thought maybe he could help me. He wanted me to build a band. And he's like, you're going to have a lot more fun. So I built a band, and the first thing that I launched with the band, which was called Honey County, was a placement that was just for me, but I turned it into the band song on True Blood on HBO. And so I took that and I just ran with it and made this band. And I was living in California and I was doing the band, and we were the top of the food chain, I would say, like of the top of the food chain of the country artists in California. Big fish, small pond, doing all of the everything. And it came down to really the girls just ended up not wanting to do it. There was lots of changeover within the band. And when it came down to, okay, how long am I going to do the band? Am I going to keep recycling girls out because I'm pouring a lot of energy, money, and effort into this band name, and continuously switching out faces to do like music videos and media and artwork and all of that, and the relationships, and it takes so much effort and energy to do that. And when the last girl, because we came from a trio to a duo, when the last girl decided that she didn't want to do it anymore, I had to make the choice. This was when Got It From My Mama was blowing up, and it was #2 on the US TikTok charts, right underneath Lizzo, About Damn Time.
Wow.
Just think about that for a second.
Crazy.
Lizzo, there was an article written in the Tennessean about it. Lizzo is an Atlantic artist. She's on a massive record label. She was Grammy nominated at the time. She has a massive team around her, and Got It From My Mama was #2. Underneath her is #1.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
It was insane to see the kind of response to a song that I knew when we wrote it, it was something so special. And to be able to have all of that going on at the same time, simultaneously, a girl saying, I don't want to do this anymore. And you know, in that moment, if you can't handle the pressure of that, then you don't want to do this really long term.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do it. Because
it.
when things go fast for me, I go faster. And I don't stop, and I'm relentless. And I could see where the other girls didn't want to be in the band anymore because I'm terrible. Like, not terrible, but like I literally am like cracking the whip. I'm like, we got to go, guys. If you cannot put every single ounce of your being and everything that you trust and literally live and die for your craft, then don't do it.
Don't do it.
Please do something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
But for me, it's
and it clears the way for people who
really want to do
it.
And so I really wanted to do it. So when the last girl left, I was faced with, I was about to be on a national TV show on The Talk for Got It From My Mama. And the question was, well, what do we call you, Honey County or Dani Rose? And I was like, oh my God, what do you call me? Am I going to go by Honey County? That doesn't make any sense. I'm just one person. I mean, looking at it now, it's so easy, but at the time I had to give up something I'd worked on for many, many years and built. And then I had to say goodbye to it. And so I asked myself the question, who lives, who dies? And 3 days later, I was on a plane from LA to Nashville, and the answer came, and it was Honey County dies, Dani Rose lives. So I wrote to them and I said, it's Dani Rose, that's what you're going to call me.
The artist formerly known as
Honey County.
Honey County.
And from there,
you're not the only one who has had to do that. You know?
There's multiple people that have had to do that. But it for me, you know, you don't know until it actually happens to you.
Sure.
And from that, I ended up doing a Southwest campaign that they had used Got It From My Mama to advertise their first ever mother-daughter captain flight duo.
Yeah, because I saw that on your
their
Instagram.
Flights.
Yeah.
And so I reached back out to them on TikTok. I said, hey, you used my song to like put on TikTok a little video. I'd love to further the conversation. And they reached back out, let's have a chat. And so from there, I was able to have a chat with them, and I was like, look, I want to do a whole day shoot. If you can give me your team and your staff, I have all of these social media ideas. They're like, great, we want you to do a live at 35. And I was like, great, I'll do live at 35. I don't know what that is, but let's go. So singing live at 35,000 feet. We'll do a flight from Nashville to New York, and you can sing in the aisle.
Yeah, because they love that.
And then I did
I would have loved to have been on that flight. That would have been so cool.
That would have been cool if you had been. You're just like, that was you?
Yes,
it was really fun. The people on the flight had no idea what was going on.
Sure.
So like when you watch the actual video, like I put it as a pinned thing like on my Instagram.
Yeah.
You see people that are sleeping and like people that like just don't care and they have their headphones in.
Because when I saw that, I thought in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, she somehow got them to give her this flight to do a music video.
No.
I had no idea it was this whole campaign.
It was this whole campaign, Live at 35 with them.
Wow.
And I sang Got It From My Mama on the plane. And so we did a live performance. And then I was like, can I get on the loudspeaker? And they were like, yeah. And so I literally had the little thing. I was like, hey, everybody, I'm Dani. I just sang for you. They're like, yeah, great. I was like, who wants to do a TikTok? And they're like, me. And I was like, great. Here's what we're going to do.
Oh
and
my
so
gosh.
literally we had a camera crew, it was like camera crew like from Southwest, but then my TM was literally filming. And the night before we like put like chairs down, so chair to like kind of mimic what a plane would actually be. And we were like, well, what can people do while they're sitting in their seats, because they're not going to be able to stand up? It's a plane, we're going to be in the air. So I was like, all right, we can do this, we can do this, we can do jazz hands. And so literally I was like, all right, y'all, here's what's going to happen. The song is going to go, everything good in me, I got it from my mama. And so I'm going to be walking and I'm going to say, everything good in me. And when I go, I got it from my mama, that's what y'all are going to do. And they're like, all right, let's do it. So we did one. And like afterwards, they were like, yay, we did it. I was like, hold on, let me watch the video. And I watched the video and I'd be like, we're going to go again. I was like, look alive, people, look alive.
Oh my gosh.
It was so much fun.
That is crazy.
Just
Oh my
like being able to do
This
that.
is why I fly Delta, though. Because I would have been so jacked. I mean, I would have played along, but I've been like, oh my gosh, who is this girl?
Oh,
But it was really fun. And during that time, it was just like this whole new life. And I was like, all right, Dani Rose is born. I made a new record. I wrote a song called Good Morning. It's off my debut album as a solo artist called Outsiders. And Outsiders, the title track, and it's all about coming. It's if you look visually, if you think visually, the book Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah.
I always felt like Nashville was where the wild things were, because that was my people. This was the creative people. This was like where we all kind of came together, where we can be like monsters together, the creativeness that we actually are. And the real world was like back in California for me. And so I wrote this song called Outsiders about running away to the outsiders, and getting away from what I didn't want to be a part of anymore. And then Good Morning, MOURNING, is all about laying the old me to rest, and then having a funeral for her and celebrating the life of the new me. So I did this big music video for it. We shot it here in Nashville.
Your social media makes so much sense to me now.
Thank you.
Yeah, like
appreciate that.
The through line's crazy.
So literally like coming here and just rebirthing like who I actually am, who I always was. I just never really had a chance to be the solo artist. So that's what brought me to Nashville. I kept waking up every day saying I'm not supposed to be here in LA, even though it's beautiful, and we had a gorgeous house and like the dog and like all the things, and I had all the things, but it wasn't. I had the relationship, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so I had to get out.
Yeah.
And I came here to Nashville, and I did that in May. And since then, the team has grown, which is really wonderful. We started out with just my manager, Richard. Segueing back to things that kind of happened, divine intervention. My old school, which I mentioned, I went to the American school in Japan. They had a panel where we would talk. They asked me, my first ever panel, to talk to students that were in entertainment, and to kind of do this Q&A over Zoom. And we would be with other people that graduated or were a part of ASIJ at one point, American School in Japan. And so on the panel was another guy named Richard Bull. I did my little LinkedIn research, and it said he had won 2 Latin Grammys, and he managed a couple artists. One was Peso Pluma, and the other one was on the management team for Peso Pluma, and the other one was Chiquis. And I didn't know them because I'm not familiar with Latin music, but I could see from his resume that this guy was a stand-up guy, and he knew what he was talking about. And I was like, oh, I wonder if he'd be like really cool to talk to. But I had the plan in my head already worked out. I looked up his artist Chiquis. She's got 5 million followers on Instagram, like 10 million on TikTok. She's a massive, massive deal. I wonder if I can get him to agree to doing a bilingual collaboration with Got It From My Mama. And so I go, and
I love it.
We like literally like have this great conversation, and we're talking to these kids that are like students at ASIJ. And then afterwards I said, hey, I really enjoy talking with you. Can we grab a coffee? He's like, yeah, sure. It's great. I'm in LA. He's great. I'm in LA too. I thought you were in Nashville. And I was like, no, I'm in LA. So we grabbed a coffee. We started chatting. and he was really sweet. He had on his sunglasses because it was like he had had a crazy night before, and he's a manager of massive Latin artists. I mean, huge. Peso Pluma like won the Grammy last year for I think best new Latin artist. But anyway, he's won a Grammy and multiple Latin Grammys. Chiquis has 2 under her belt, 3 now actually. But she was a huge superstar, or is a huge superstar. So I was like, so we sat down at the table. I was like, take those sunglasses off. He's like, okay. And I was like, let's cut to the chase, Richard. I want to do a bilingual collab with your artist Chiquis on Got It From My Mama. I saw that she has Grammys. She's got all these #1s on different like Latin radio. But you know what she doesn't have? She doesn't have a #2 on TikTok, and I do. And if she wants that, do a bilingual collab with me. I'll sing in Spanish. I can do it.
Dani's middle name is Moxie.
Yeah. Definitely.
So he was like, let me see if she likes it. He sent it to her. 3 weeks later, we were in the studio and we cut it.
Oh my
Amazing.
gosh.
Richard and I loved working together so much that we decided, or he decided really, he's like, I'm going to be your manager.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I love working with you. I know that you're in the Latin space, but that doesn't mean you can't work in the country space. Like, you are such a recognized artist manager and beloved by everyone in the industry. Like, I would love for you to be my manager if you want to do it. So we started working together. I moved to Nashville. We got Becky Parsons on board. You know Becky. She's wonderful. She has her own company. She started on as my publicist, and now she's joined the team, the management team for me, because when I do make that leap to the next thing, I want to take her with me. I don't want her to just be PR. Like, she is so much more than PR, and she's an amazing friend. Both Richard and her are both incredible friends and wonderful people to boot. And then just signed with a new agent, and so it's like everything is kind of happening for me since I made the move, but it took a long time for me to get here.
Wow.
And the whole point of all that, Dani, is it's supposed to. And what's cool to me with everything you just said, because that is all so amazing, and this has been fantastic for this podcast today, because
The story's insane.
the story is incredible, and you offer a really clear through line, first and foremost, of there is divine purpose in everyone's life. I really believe that. And for those who really are supposed to be in this space of music and doing the creative artist thing, you just got to show up and work hard. You don't have to force it. And you trust that divine pathway because you've been walking on it. And it went in this big circle to bring you right here. Not really a circle, I guess, but it brought you here. And things are starting to really take off now. And to me, that's the coolest thing in the world. And it makes you so much wiser and stronger and resilient. All the great things that you need to push to the next level. And you trusted that. And now you have that story that people are going to get to hear to hopefully push them along wherever they are. I think it's the coolest thing. That story was amazing.
It is amazing.
Maybe you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, you talked about being independent for such a long time. Like, you were the team. It was you. You were A&R. You were your own manager. You were your own publicist. You were your own agent. All of those things that most artists are like, okay, I want to do music. I need a manager. I need to do this. I need to find the people. And while there is this element of building a team, curating a team, you have to be that first. You have to be your best cheerleader and champion to, you know, your story about no one was your champion, and so that's why that didn't work out for you. And you just sort of took that and you were like, watch me, hold my beer. I don't need you. And all of the different, you know, scenarios with the guy in New York who just wanted to use you for your own brilliance that you had already shown, you know, I can make things happen for me by just being creative and asking for it. All you did was you just kept asking for it. Yeah. Like, even with Richard, and you were like, I just was like, all right, this is what I want. I want to do a collaboration with your biggest artist. You didn't go in saying, will you manage me? I'm a great singer. You went in, you were like, I have something awesome to bring to the table, and you also have something really awesome. Let's do something about it. And you did that with the Free People in Anthropology thing, where it was like, I've got something here that you guys need. Let's do this. But you came in with the proposal over and over and over again. You came in and you said, I've got this really great idea, and I think it can serve us both. And it's a giving spirit, first of all, but you're also self-aware to know that this is going to be good for me as well. And when you can lead with value, you can get what you want. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's true in any industry, in any leadership position, but it's not that your end game has to always be about me. But the reality is if you want to have the most influential, biggest names in any industry be for you, you have to show up with massive value yourself. And that is everything that you did. It was like story after story of you showing up, adding value, and how that just paved the way for more and more opportunity, to where it makes sense that it wasn't until recently that you found somebody whose value was sort of matching your value. Like your bar was so high. Of course, like somebody down here is not going to be like, they're not going to be able to do anything for you. You said that about another manager opportunity before. Like, they really couldn't do a whole lot for me. Yeah, because you were doing a better job than they would have been of managing you. So you had to find somebody else who was playing on your level. And that's just really like profound to me, and what I think more artists need to be thinking about is, how can I creatively bring my value to the table in a way that helps other people and can really be a mutually beneficial situation. You know, you said the whole thing about your dad rewiring you with the SAT prep stuff, and you're like, I kind of forgot it all now. You didn't. Because you were showing him, like, if I do a math problem like this, and he was like, well, that's 3 steps. That takes 5 minutes. Let me show you 1 step. Everything that you did, I kept thinking, no, that rewiring was still taking place, where everybody else would have been like, step 1, step 2, step 3. How do I do this? And you just went straight to the source. You, instead of doing this zigzag pattern to get there, you just were like, cut the crap. Let's just go straight to it.
Yeah.
And like, this is what we're going to do. This is the best way to do this.
Yeah.
And it's efficient. It's got moxie. Like I was saying before, like, that's is bold, right? Most people are not that bold and don't even think like, oh, wow, I never even thought that I could just come in guns blazing like that. But
and in today's entertainment space, you have to have it to stand out.
Yeah.
You have to, because there's way so many people wanting to do it. It is hard, as we've all said. It takes that to cut through and not give up. And that's exactly been your story. Hey, as we try to wrap up here, tell us what's next, what's coming up. Obviously, people are going to want to stay in tune with it. We are, for sure.
So I'm really excited. Throughout my journey, I've been really grateful to be a member of the Yellowstone family. I've had 5 songs on the TV show.
Amazing.
And that's all thanks to Taylor Sheridan, the creator, the creative genius, and Andre Von Forrester, the music supervisor, Megan and Sabrina Del Piore over at Paramount CBS, and all the CBS team, really, Amy Osler, and Amy Reisenbach, just like, and Brian, like, all these people have been like really wonderful to me, and grateful for their support. But part of that CBS Paramount family, and have had songs on Fire Country, and that has all been really incredible for me as an artist, to be able to have that leverage in Nashville when I wasn't living here full time, and I was coming back and forth. But the most recent song that came out was my song with Brent Cobb called I Ain't Livin'. It was featured as a demo, funny enough, on the actual TV show, but then we decided we were gonna redo it and make it sound good. And then put it out. So that's been a really fun collaboration. And then my song Girl Math is going to come out, and the feeling, I think we were chatting about it before, the feeling I had when we finished Got It From My Mama, like, wow, this is really special, this is cool, it's going to speak to people, is the same feeling that I had when we finished Girl Math.
Wow.
So that's very exciting for me, and I've just been kind of showing it to people. And when I start singing it at shows and stuff, people, like, they sing the chorus like with me as I'm singing it, which tells me it's gonna catch on. There's something special with that song.
And you know what's so fun about that? That is full circle. Back to Girl Math with you and your dad, all these stories.
You are so good at this.
And you can now tell your dad you do math.
I already now I know what the cover's gonna be.
Exactly.
It's literally a little girl doing math problems with her dad.
I love it.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Girl math.
That is so full circle. It is so cool. The through line, the circle, all of it. This has been amazing. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have all your socials posted for people to follow along, and I'll be seeing you at the gym and other places around town.
You will.
Wait, she and I are about the town. You know
About
that.
the town.
Yeah, we're about the
Jason,
town.
you're more about the town than I am.
He's more about the town than I think all of us.
We could be a good duo in the networking realm.
Oh,
we,
yes.
We could go in and crush a room. We should do that sometime. We should just pick a party, go collect names.
Are we going to be
come
party
out.
crashers?
We should.
Okay,
And
let's do it.
See what names we get.
Yeah, let's go. I'm down.
That'll be a new podcast we start too.
Yeah, party crashers. Let's see who we can meet.
Yeah.
What corporate events are happening. We'll go into like the dental, like corporate event,
right.
showroom, whatever, and they're like talking about new dental wear, and we're like, let's see if we can get our music played in their offices.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
That's right. That will be great. Yeah. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.